later afterwards and just drop it in. So don't worry about it.
Okay.
So I'm just going to start talking to you, really.
Okay, perfect.
Because that's what my podcast is. So I was sitting here thinking, now that I was just on your podcast, Dear Diary You're Effed, which is a great name, especially with your daughter. I was wondering this because I found when I was talking to you about how when we lived in Beverly Hills, we'd go to Slash's every Sunday for a barbecue. It was very normal for us. It was normal because they knew him. It was the same people every Sunday. We grilled.
Yeah.
So they were still having this normal existence. They just didn't really understand how famous he was. They just knew he was in a band. So for your daughter, did you find that being friends with other members of the cast was easier for you to talk to them than to talk to, for instance, just regular everyday people, that they could understand what you were going through, filming and social media and everything else that you have to deal with connected to Below Deck Mediterranean?
I guess I literally I'm only friends with like 3 or 4 people that I've filmed with, which has been the cause of some like grievances over the years. But it's like, I think sometimes it's hard for people like when they come and film for the first time because it's such a new experience and it's so exciting, and then they want to talk about it for the next 6 months, and then they want to talk about it every week when it airs. And it's like, you know, when you've done 5 seasons and you've shot it 5 times, like I didn't even want to watch myself. Like, so I don't want to talk about it anymore. Like, actually, Alison, I'll probably get in trouble, but we were mentioning Andy Cohen before, and this has reminded me of it. When I was really pregnant, I was doing Watch What Happens Live, and I had to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to do hair and makeup, to then go and film at the right time and everything.
Horrible.
And it was the worst thing. So I was basically sitting there, and he does like an introduction before you start, you know, for like an ad break basically.
Right.
And he's like, so we've got Hannah, you know, from, you know, Hannah on this week. She's going to be discussing the new episode. Hannah, like, you know, are you ready to go back to Vegas? And I was like, literally like, what's he talking about? And I was like, oh my God, I haven't watched the episode.
Oh,
So I had to do an entire talk show about an episode that I hadn't seen yet. And I was like, this baby brain is real. So I had to bluff my way through what he was saying. It was horrible.
That's where you're like, I don't know, Andy, are you taking me to Vegas? Are we going together? That would be very nerve-wracking. You already had a lot of hormones going on that had to send him through the roof for you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
I
I'm
wasn't
sorry.
really watching because I knew what was going to happen, and I was pregnant, and I didn't really want that kind of negativity in my life, so I wasn't really watching the season. But I had gone and watched an episode in preparation. It was just the wrong episode.
Oh, that's so funny. You know what? Anybody that's been pregnant understands that completely.
Yeah.
And you know, us both having been touched by reality television, I love pop culture because it's a distraction from our real life. Like, people can tune out from like whatever difficulties they're having in life. It's an escape from reality, but I really didn't find it to be reality television when I was on it. It was like a produced, throw some alcohol on some strong personalities and let's see what happens TV. It just seemed like there was a formula to it. And I think they do that on your show too, when they send you off to the bars on sandbars and just kind of throw some alcohol on strong personalities and light a match. I mean, that's really what it is. What did you like about being on Below Deck? There had to be something that you enjoyed about it.
So look, I think what kind of happened at the very start is I had done the start of the Mediterranean season. Then I went to the United States. This is before Below Deck. And then I was just I just had 3 bad boats in a row, and I just went, I'm done. So a girlfriend and I were chasing this music festival around like Croatia and the Greek islands, and basically just being girls
that sounds boring. Oh,
yeah.
Who wants to do that?
That would have been much better for cameras, to be honest. But we were just having fun, and then Below Deck kind of approached me, and I went, okay, cool. Because the charters are so short, you can earn kind of what you would normally earn in like a full season, which is like 5 months. You can earn the same in tips, and we film for 6 weeks. So from the very start, I was never really that concerned about the fame side of things. I just was really just there to do a job and earn money.
Right.
And I think because of my personality type, they were probably sitting in the production room. I think, the first time was when I screamed at the chef and I smacked my hand on the counter and just bit back at him. And they were like, oh, this is going to be interesting television.
Do a close up on her face. She looks angry. Everybody, camera, move in.
Yeah, exactly. So, it honest to God was for me, it was an interesting thing to go through. And then I think that dulled down, and then it was really just kind of more financial based. And the fact that I could travel the rest of the year, and
you didn't have a baby. You didn't have a baby at the time. That changes everything. It drops the anchor real fast, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, it does. Yes, it does. It was actually funny because I found out I was pregnant, and then we went into lockdown 2 weeks later. So it was actually the best timing. Not that there's any good timing for a pandemic, but in my life,
you were blessed.
Yeah.
How was it being pregnant at that time during the pandemic?
It wasn't very nice because, you're more emotional. I used to be in the grocery store, and I'd see a little old man who was confused looking at just rows and rows of empty kind of stalls of food because everyone was bulk buying, and he couldn't understand what was going on. And I was just started crying in the middle of the grocery shop. And so
that's understandable. That's understandable. And I think I was reading people that whole year during COVID from other countries. So I was hearing what was going on around the world. And I think we probably had it pretty great actually where I'm at, because I live in Arizona, which was sort of people that wanted to take a risk, go live. And people that want to be inside, stay inside. So the restaurants open sooner and the schools open sooner and everything's fine. Everything's fine. But now that we're into 2021, it's what just happened? And did anybody learn anything? I'm wondering if
very strange.
I wonder if the babies from the pregnancies are going to be more mellow kids because their mothers were slightly less stressed and not overstimulated by everything around them. It'll be interesting to see what they're like.
No, it was kind of fascinating for me because I went from living at 1,000,000 miles an hour and traveling all the time to just dead stop. It was kind of interesting though, because it's not like I was going on social media and then all my friends were just living the same life and I felt like I was missing out, because it was almost well, if I can't go out and have fun, no one can go out and have fun.
Right?
It worked really well.
You know what I kind of enjoyed, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but I have a lot of friends that are public figures. I'm sure you do as well. And sometimes you get sick of seeing a new professional photo of them every day on Instagram, and I was just oh, this is kind of refreshing. Nobody's doing anything.
Exactly.
We're baking and living.
Make your banana bread, Janet. Make it.
Right. And our hair's kind of shabby and we don't care. And I wear drawstring pants. When I had to put on my first pair of pants with a waistline to them that didn't have a drawstring after the pandemic, I was like, wow, why do we wear these? These are so uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable. I know, I've always gone with men, I'm is it really a smart thing that you start your day every day by basically tying a noose around your neck? Who cares?
Right.
So uncomfortable. I don't understand it.
It makes you look at the world very differently, looking back on what mattered. And I think people hopefully got their priorities in order. And instead of it being all about, I think people were pretty self-absorbed. I think everything just got way too far in social media, influencers, and there was just everybody was on screen all the time. It was a little overwhelming. How did you deal with social media? Being on you air around the world though, don't you?
We do. I think I've kind of kept it quite I've always looked at Below Deck Med as a job and not my life. And I think that's really important. I think a lot of people in reality TV, it turns into their entire life, you know,
Right.
and it's all about how many likes you get and how many views your video gets and like how popular you are. I only had Facebook when I started Below Deck. And they kind of said to me, like, you need to like put all your handles down. And I was like, what's a handle? Like,
it's true.
So yeah, they said like, you've got to open an Instagram. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like people can just add me as a friend on Facebook. I really had no idea. And then, you know, like I kept my relationship off Instagram for over 2 years. Which was hilarious because when I had the baby, people were like, she was artificially inseminated. She's made up this man that she pretends to talk about. Like, and I said to Josh, I was like, it's actually getting to the stage now where it's a bigger deal that I don't just post a photo of you, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's actually getting to the stage now where it's worse than.
It's more elusive. Now you've built the mystery and now people want to know.
Exactly, because I'm really, really like protective of my loved ones. So it's kind of like if I go online and like somebody commented the other day, they're like, oh my God, you're huge. I feel so sorry for your fiance. It's disgusting what happened to you. And like the only thing I got offended was like, there's nothing for like my fiance is fine. Thank you. Like don't bring him into it. So it's almost like if you insult me and dig at me, I can handle it. But if it's something about my family or my loved ones, then I just
protective, sure.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. And, you know, I think because I mean, my fame hit in 2005, like January of 2005. So there wasn't like a whole bunch of handles then to have. And everything was pretty calm. You know, the trolls didn't really seem to come out until like Twitter. And then I saw an evolution. Oh, it's terrible. And I saw this evolution of unhappy people whose families don't even want to hear from them and they have no friends. So they go after famous people because you have a life that they don't or something. I mean, who says that about a pregnant, you know, somebody who had a baby or is in their pregnancy? That's just beyond. I mean, I don't understand people like that. They're vacant. I mean, I'm sorry you had that experience.
I think as well, to be honest, I've always looked at it and I've gone, you know, like I can sit and watch The Real Housewives or something like that. And I'll turn to Josh and I'll be like, God, she's a bit of a bitch, isn't she?
Right. It's a requirement on the show.
But the thought process of like going online, finding them and then telling them, like thinking I'm important enough that they care whether they're a bitch or it's just so weird to me.
Yeah. It's become autopilot for me to look. And I always like to look at how many followers and friends they have because it's usually zero, kind of like their life. And so then when you block and delete, it's just, I mean, there's computer programming out there that can set up like fake accounts just to add stress to our lives. It's like, why are you doing that? But for whatever reason, we get targeted. I think especially Bravo shows. No offense to the people that watch Bravo, but I think it's a mixed bag of people watching Bravo because the people on my fan page are really spiritual and thoughtful. Like they care. They're really sweet.
They're just not really the type of people that attack.
Right. They're not the kind that attack, right? But people who watch Bravo do tend to be the kind of people who attack. And they're the same people that'll have on their banner on social media, just be yourself. It's like, oh, really? Because we're being ourselves and you don't like that. So be the version of myself that you want me to be. Is that what you mean? Like, it's such a hypocrisy out there.
Yeah, it's always the ones that are like, do unto others and have others do unto you and things like that. Or I don't know what it is, but it's a Bible verse.
Right.
If you have a Bible verse in your bio, it like increases the ability to be horrible to people online. It's so strange.
Yeah, it's true. And I remember I briefly, and I was very lucky to know her, but I knew Charlotte Dawson. Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was so sad.
It was sad. And the last time I saw her, we were in Sydney, right, Joe? Yeah, we were in Sydney. And she started telling me about her trolls that she had online, and it really bothered her because they would tell her to kill herself, and she's getting older and she needs to get off television. And she was beautiful.
She was stunning.
And she was actually very easily wounded. She had a very soft center, and she was very, very loving. And it was just really sad to see the look in her eyes. And I talked to her right before she took her life, and it bothered her so bad. And I said, Charlotte, you're going to come visit me in Scottsdale. We're going to hang out, get away from all of that. You don't need to immerse yourself in it. And I said, let's make a show where you go with your camera crew and knock on the door of all the people that sent you those messages, and we'll put them on blast on television so that they can hear what other people think of them. I'm like, let's do that. Let's diffuse this. But there was no way to diffuse it for her, and she was just tired. And so definitely rest in peace to Charlotte Dawson. But I just don't think the people that are online, they almost seem like they're not, I don't know if they're not being raised with character or what it is, but it's not okay to reach out to public figures just to say nasty things. And it seems to have become a culture. It's very strange.
It's 1,000% a culture. Like you said, I think especially the Bravo audience.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's just like, and I think it's the funny thing is the biggest defense people have is, well, you're on reality TV.
Right. You're a public figure. You
for
yourself there. Right.
Yeah. And you're like, well, you know what? Like, it's, it's kind of like saying that somebody who does diving for a job,
right?
It's like if they have an accident, well, you were doing diving for a job, so you deserve it. Well, no, I'm just, it's also like as well, I'm like, I'm very sorry, but it's reality television.
Right.
Chill out.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be there for light, mind-numbing, We're not solving anything. We're not fixing anything. There's no brains behind what we do. It is light, airy reality TV. Take it for what it is.
Yes.
Escape from your reality and watch some other people scream at each other or whatever it is, and just take it for what it is. It's not supposed to be taken seriously.
No, it's just supposed to be entertainment and nothing more. But I think a lot of people with lives they're not happy with just like to take pot shots and stuff. So it's unfortunate. They might take the energy that they put into their social media, because I bet they spend hours a day following people, and instead maybe learn a skill or, get into gardening or cooking.
Get outside,
or
find
something.
a friend.
Find a
Maybe
friend.
You won't be so angry.
Adopt a pet. Little pet therapy out there.
Exactly. An emotional
I like you a lot. So I've spent a lot of time in Australia over the last 15 years, and I find the people there to be quite spiritual. Have you ever had a premonition of something that came true? Or have you had a dream where you saw a loved one that had passed before? Have you ever had any of those experiences?
No. So I've not that I can remember. But I do have this thing. I don't know what it is. It's this timing thing.
Yeah.
So like just an example, a few days ago, Josh and I were sitting down, and we worked out that my waters broke and I went into labor 2 years and 15 minutes after we first met.
Wow.
2 years and 15 minutes after we first met.
Way to mark an anniversary, guys.
I know, right? Very dramatic.
That's so funny.
And it's always strange timing, and then very good timing, and then very bad timing. So, like we said before, the pandemic, it was like for 12 years, all I did was travel.
Have you thought of the alternative? Say the pandemic hadn't come and you had left the show. I think you would have had a harder time getting adjusted to a regular life
Oh,
because everything else would be going at lightning speed
yep.
still. And I think the fact that everybody all of a sudden had to worry about themselves and pay
Yeah.
attention to their own homesteads,
Yeah.
they weren't caring that you didn't come back in that sense. And that's actually a relief for
Yeah.
you because you don't have to hear what they think. And then the people that are nice, the good fans, they're
Mm.
going to follow your podcast and they're
Yeah.
they're going to find you on social media. So in a way, kind of maybe swept some of the bad away from you.
No, like I said, it's always very good and very bad. It is
Right.
just very strange timing. And when it's happening, when it happens as often as it does in my life, I don't think that's coincidence. I think there's something going on there. I don't know what it is.
I find that sometimes when something bad happens, it takes something that powerful in
Mhm.
order to bring about something good or
Yeah.
reflective. Because
Yeah.
even 11 years ago, when I had that horrible dinner
Mm.
with those women,
Yeah.
I would say I walked away from it and I said, I'm going to do the work. I've
Mm.
gotten sidetracked. Why am I doing that show? Why am I on a Beverly Hills Chef show? Because that was another little
Yeah.
show one of my friends did. And I'm thinking I got derailed somewhere along
Mm.
the somewhere along the way. And it made everything very clear to me of what I wanted my life to look like and what I wanted for my children and how
Yeah.
I valued my marriage and that we didn't belong in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
And we came back to Scottsdale with our cowboy boots and, our country music and went
Yeah.
back to living the way we like to live.
Yeah.
And we're happy. And
Mm.
our kids did so well here. Not that they weren't doing great there, but they would not be the same people if we had stayed.
Yeah.
So I think even though it was something so deafening to me by being on a show where I'm asking myself, why? Like, what's
Why
the
am I here?
point?
Yeah.
What's the point? There was no benefit to me.
Mm.
There was no reason. I didn't need to do it. And
Yeah.
in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have. But then what if we stayed in Beverly Hills and my kids turned out like assholes like those women
Yeah.
on the show? And that's
Exactly.
exactly what we were trying to avoid.
Yeah.
So I feel like in a way it was good.
Yeah.
It got us on track where we needed to be. And my kids are exactly who I hoped they would grow up to be.
Yeah. Well, no, it's so funny because the same thing happened with me. I feel like I got really comfortable with Below Deck Med. I knew it was coming every year. I knew I was going to film and then when all of that stuff happened and I fell pregnant, it shook me in a way I hadn't been shaken in many, many years. And I looked inside and I went like, what do you want to do? And it was like, and that's when I started my company, Ocean International Training Academy, when I was like 5 months pregnant. And I knew I wanted to launch it when all this stuff was going to happen on the show. So I had this tight deadline. But it was like, I want to inspire other people to get out there and travel and, take them out of, their small town kind of, if they're not happy and they're bored and get them working on yachts around the world.
I love that.
Yeah. It took that shake up for me to actually do it. And I was working about 17 hours a day for months to actually start the company. But now we have monthly training calls. I have monthly training calls with my students. And it's like, my boyfriend was an electrician and I was a waitress and, he wasn't nice to me and things like that. And I just got, I left and I've just started work on my first yacht,
Nice.
And to actually be able to see that
the world.
Yeah. Helping people really change their lives. I now have job satisfaction, which is something I never got from Below Deck,
Right.
I feel like I'm doing something with my day and doing something in a way that I'm, giving something at least to the community other than trashy reality shows.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like a great role model for your daughter. I mean, that's something that she'll look back on and say, yeah, I'm proud of you, Mom. And you'll see the legacy of that aha moment. And I think because when I've seen Below Deck, I never really thought of that is a possibility for a job before. So when I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, if you're a young person, that would be great. So you're showing them how to go about doing it so that they can better their lives and see the world. I mean, I think that's amazing. So good for you.
And it is. It's so even like I've had some parents reach out to me and I'm like, you know what? Like if you've got a teenage son or a teenage daughter and they're sitting at home, like smoking bongs or playing video games and not getting anywhere, you know.
Pay attention, audience.
It's like it teaches them discipline, hierarchy, respect. They travel, they save money. Like there is so much, you know, we're about to buy a house in the next kind of few months and like we can both put the deposit down and all of that because of yachting. Right. So it's just, I just feel like I'm finally doing something that actually really helps people. So that's an amazing thing. And you know what? Maybe if I wasn't like fired for some Valium on camera, that never would have come about.
You know what? I know so many people that have oxycodone or a Valium that they keep just in case they have really bad cramps. And it's not unusual, or that they're traveling, They prescribe it to travel. I don't understand why it was that big of a deal, but
no, it wasn't.
They did you a favor.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they did you a favor. So bucket lists. I have a bucket list. Is there something you want to do in your life that you have not done that you know you're going to do and tick off before you die? Or have you already done it and what is it?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I don't actually have anything that I feel like because I was able to travel so much, everything that I kind of wanted to do, I did. I guess like I really want, probably, I know it sounds so cheesy, but my bucket list is probably just to watch my daughter grow up and be a happy, good human being, you know?
That's always got to be number one. That's great that your kids are going to thrive. You know, I'm sillier. I did more of, I want to eat a bowl of Lucky Charms in Ireland. And I did that. And I wanted to drink champagne overlooking the Eiffel Tower in Paris. And I did that. I wanted a Waldorf salad at the Waldorf Astoria where it was created in New York. And I did that. I seem to center around food quite a lot.
Food and drink.
Food and drink. Yes. I had buffalo wings in Buffalo, New York in the restaurant they originated. I mean, I've really made the food rounds. I've tried.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've just like toured, because I'm a really big foodie as well.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes like what can drive you a little crazy when you're filming Below Deck, because like a lot of our guests are lovely people, but they're not the type of standard that you would have on yachts that were not on camera.
Right.
Because those type of people, they if they want to charter a yacht, they're not going to do it with cameras everywhere and having to wear microphones and stuff. They'll just charter a normal yacht, you know?
Right.
So sometimes when we'd have like a chef, you know, that wasn't very good, and then the guests are like, oh my God, it's amazing. I'm like, no, it's not. What are you talking
about? Harold flips burgers at Burger King. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
this is his upgrade.
Exactly. So funny. You know, at the end of the day as well, especially with Below Deck, the reality, you can't deviate from what they're saying, because that's their reality. So even if it's like something that you know isn't very good, but they think is good, right? That's reality. They're the guests, you know. Well, so it was
I felt for you though, because you're trapped on that boat, and I felt like that in that house in Malibu when my car was gone. When I looked out the door, and I'm like, okay, so I don't even know exactly where I'm at. How am I going to leave? I felt a little trapped, you know, so I would imagine you'd feel a little trapped being on a boat for sure.
100%. And it is like Below Deck's, you know, the reason it's such a good show is it's a pressure cooker, you know?
Yeah.
It's the perfect storm, basically. It's
They're
like
gonna have to up it with Shark Week at some point. I'm thinking some sort of a giant great white coming alongside and being bigger than the yacht. That would really up the ratings.
exactly.
So with all your world travels, what's your absolute favorite must-see place for my audience? If they're going to go someplace in their life that would be a version of heaven to you on earth, where would that be?
So I love Corsica, the island off south of France.
Mm-hmm.
It's just beautiful. The food's gorgeous. The beaches are gorgeous. But Paris to me is really special. I love Paris, and I love Venice, Amsterdam. I traveled a lot through Europe.
Sounds
there was
like it.
yeah,
That's great.
places in Turkey. Turkey actually has some of the most beautiful, pristine waters I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know if I could do the food there. You must be adventurous with your palate. I eat like a 5-year-old. Your daughter and I could probably share a meal. I'm just saying.
I'll have the chicken nuggets and chips, please.
Yeah, there we go. When I go to Australia on tour, I find is Happy Jack or Hungry Jack?
Hungry Jacks.
Hungry Jack is your Burger King. Yeah. That's our Burger King. So I always go there and I stuff Heinz ketchup packets in my pockets. I'm like, oh, thank God I got a ketchup. And I get a cheeseburger and I'm like, it tastes like home. So I don't know how I'd fare in Turkey, but I'm thinking field trip with Hannah. Yay. We're going to Corsica and you get a trip and you get a trip. I'm just kidding.
That would be amazing. I know. I said to my agent the other day, I'm like, I just want a travel show where I can take Ava everywhere with me. That'd be my ideal. Yeah.
Well, wouldn't it be the irony if you get a kid that's seasick?
Oh, I know, right?
Because you never know what you're going to get.
That's my weird timing back again.
That's funny because our daughter Fallon, she's a Taurus, so she's an earth sign. And they don't like their feet off the ground. They don't. She always got car sick, seasick, like motion sickness. So we were just always giving her Dramamine so we could take her anywhere. And then we had daughters that loved being thrown 7 feet in the air and be like, higher, higher. You know, they couldn't go high enough. So it'll be
your mind, children.
Yes. So it's going to be funny as you have more kids because you'll realize you can have the same gene pool and each kid can be completely different from the other one. 2 of ours were flyers. They were cheerleaders. They were the ones that got thrown in the air. The ones that were, balancing on a toe up above, the pyramids. And I'm just like, and then we've got Fallon who's like, oh, hell no. She's like, my feet aren't leaving the ground.
Yeah. So what do you do when you come to Australia?
I've been touring Australia over the years for about the last 15 years, and I have ballroom events. So I fill a ballroom and I read people, and I've done your television shows and made your radio rounds and everything there. And it's fun. I even got to be the deciding judge on a food taste test on one of the morning shows. That was really
they
cool.
Let you do that?
Yeah, and it was between 2 restaurant owners in Sydney. It was in Sydney.
Were you just like, which one tastes the most like an American cheeseburger?
That's so
the one
funny.
That'll win.
One was clearly a standout, so I went with him. His flavors popped, but it was just, I love Australia. It feels sort of like our second home. We have friends there that were, we met them when we were, hanging out with our rock groups in LA. So we met him at Slash's house, actually, and Juke Cartel is what they were called there in Australia. And you have Toby Rand, who, what did he win, Joe? It was the X Factor. Is it X Factor?
Oh, okay.
One of those shows? Super good looking guy, front man. I think he opens for INXS, or at least he has been opening for INXS. You've got a lot of talent there in Australia. I didn't know if you know, but we like hanging out with Dale and Tommy and all of our rocker friends over there. So it's in Melbourne, that's where they're at. And so it feels sort of at home. So we do Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Sorry. I thought you had something important to say. Um, we sometimes go to Perth, but it's so far. It's so
Oh,
far.
I know.
But we try and make it in Adelaide.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go back and just
Well, I
when you
can't
guys.
wait to meet you when you come out.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, we're having a date, me, you, and Justin. It's gonna
Yes.
be fun.
And I will get Josh is like the king of the barbecue, so I will get him to make you an Wagyu Angus cheeseburger that
Oh,
will
wow.
blow your mind.
Okay. Well, I'm in, and I'm going to meet you in person, and we're going to be friends and know each other forever. So that's great.
Yes, sounds good.
So tell us what's next for you. What have you got in the works, or what are your hopes other than being the world's number one mother?
So I'm really excited. I'm just loving working with Ocean International Training at the moment. It's so nice just to see people, it's like watching like little flowers blossom, and when we start our training calls, they're these shy little people in their little hometowns. And then as you're just watching them come out their shell and do their training and get excited and then eventually work on yachts. So that's been amazing.
How old can you be? I mean, what's the age?
Minimum is 16.
Really? Do they get a drive, or are they just sort of there as a? They don't get to drive the boat. They just
No. No one drives the boat except the captain and occasionally the first mate. But no, then I've got a few other things that I'm working on at the moment that are all kind of at the very high level. But yeah, it's a lot to try and juggle. I didn't take any time off when I had Ava. I had 2 weeks, and I was working up until the day before I went into labor. And then you're a bit delusional with the first. I was like, oh, I'll just like work in her naps, and I can like work on my phone while she's feeding. And then like you're an absolutely emotional, delusional wreck, and you're like, oh my God, I understand why people take maternity leave now.
Yeah, I mean, you can't put them down without them then waking up and crying again. There depends on the child, but we had one, no peace. And I had 5 girls under the age of 5 my senior year in college. So I'm writing papers, and this was in 2000 with a baby on my lap, and she was like hitting the keyboard with her hands while I'm trying to write my thesis, my final paper. And it was no joke. But ironically, she graduated from my alma mater 20 years almost to the day that I graduated. So I graduated late because I was having children with my husband. And she went through in 3 years. So that was kind of cool. But I think you'll find that what you're doing when you have 2, just take the time off. 3 are the same as 2. You might as well. I mean, 1's easier. If you have 2, you might as well have 3. I'm just saying, it's like just it's just like having a spare. Actually, it gives them an additional playmate in case they don't like the other option. Like if they don't like one sister, they've got the other sister. So it's kind of nice, and they take turns like liking and not liking each other.
We're in negotiations at the moment about a second.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a good thing you're talking to me right now, because we are in a full moon in Scorpio, and what I put up on my Alison Dubois fan page is full moon in Scorpio. Scorpio rules the reproductive system. I said, if you want to have a baby, the next 2 days are the fertility window right there. So I said, if you don't want to have kids, you know what to do and not to do. You know,
definitely not.
Because I will tell you, watch your man. He's probably going to have some urges in the sense of, just looking at you amorously, where you're like, why are you looking at me like that? Because that's what the moon in Scorpio does. It's a full moon.
Do then, because it's his birthday today. I can't exactly go, hey, I know. What's going to happen?
Okay, so that's the physical opposition. He doesn't get to have sex because that means he's a Taurus. If today's his birthday, he's a Taurus, and it's a full moon in Scorpio. So he's in a physical opposition. 6 months across from your sign is each sign's opposition. So every Taurus on the planet just entered a 2.5 day physical opposition. So you're going to turn him down, Make him take his vitamin C so he doesn't get sick. Sometimes they get a sore throat or their knee starts acting up because those are Taurus weaknesses. But yeah, Scorpio usually doesn't feel very good to those Tauruses. So
no. Okay.
Denied, right? Denied. You can say you're in an opposition. It's probably not a good time, even though it's a perfect time, but that's okay.
I'll be like, well, Allison told me.
I know. I can be a very informative friend to have.
Yeah.
So
do you get like a lot of people, like your girlfriends and things like that, if they're like dating, do they go like, okay, so I'm Sagittarius and he's Taurus. Tell me what this is, you know?
It's easier for me to tap into the energy of the person because I can feel, because we have more than our sun sign. We got our rising, our moon, our Mars. We got where all the planets were. So there's more to it. So it's easier for me just to tap into somebody's energy and sort of read what their strengths and weaknesses are to see if it's a good fit for a friend of mine.
Yeah.
That's more of how I do it. But yeah, I get
a very handy friend to have.
I know. So what are you if he's a Taurus?
I'm Sagittarius. I'm on the cusp of Scorpio and Sagittarius.
I know, but I love Sagittarius. Sages are so fun. They're irreverent. They say things that other people are like, I can't believe they said that out loud. I'm the person going, I can't believe they said that out loud. That's amazing.
And I'm the person saying it. Trust me.
I love Sagittarius. And my husband's a Gemini, and our friend Toby, that I told you is the front man in Australia. He's a Sag, and this is how an opposition in friendships work. So Sag is 6 months across from Gemini. That's what makes them the opposite ends of the same energy. So they go about everything differently. So Sages want to have a good time. They want to live in the moment. They don't want to think about consequences. They just want to do it now. They want to go to Vegas. They want to gamble. They want to get on a boat. They want to sail. And usually they want to take a dog with them. So he likes to have a good time. So he would challenge my husband to shots when we lived in LA. And it was always too much. And then Joe didn't feel so good the next day. And I'm like, he's your opposition. Why, when he starts taking you on, do you buy into it? He's like, we're bonding. I'm like, okay, well, that's what it's like to have a friend that's your opposition. It doesn't mean you can't be friends, but it's going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, this is the consequences.
So what's your social media information if people want to find you and find out more about yachting and you and your life?
So on Instagram, it's Hannah Ferrier 234. If you are interested in working on big white boats around the world, the link is in the bio there. And Twitter is Hannah Ferrier _.
Ooh, Twitter.
Please don't control me.
The deep abyss of technology hell, as I see it.
Well, Alison, you would laugh. Actually, I put a tweet up the other day and I said, do Americans know what the mangroves are? Because I was basically doing like research as to like what Australians know as something and what Americans know as something, so that I can do something that makes sense to Americans as well. I woke up the next day and people were like, stop calling us stupid. I can't believe that you're so rude. We built you. We can tear you down. I'm like, what?
Way to make us look, guys.
I'm like, what are you talking about? I just want to know if you call the mangroves the same thing as we call the mangroves over here. How is that like?
Go back to your anger.
Back to your mother's basement, okay, Karen?
Oh my! I know, it's so true. They live in their mother's basements. I'm telling you, these are the boys that don't leave home and they sit downstairs with their hand down their pants playing video games. That's what they do. That's who the trolls are.
One hand on a piece of fried chicken and boom.
That's so funny. But none for your husband tonight.
No, okay. I will keep that in mind.
Well, and I'll tell you this, just so you know for the rest of your life, this is a good thing for you to know. Sagittarius is 11th hour luck. So whenever you were supposed to lose or somebody else would have had a hard time or trouble in your lifetime, you're saved. That's why things have worked out for you better than maybe your upbringing or your start was in childhood. Might have been a rocky one, but see how life sort of carried you into, being a mother, and you got a TV show and you got to do all these things. That's Sag. They're lucky. Okay. So
I think I want to arrange a reading with you, Allison.
Oh my gosh, we can just hang out and do some Zoom cocktails together.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it's something I'm so fascinated in, but I think it's quite natural to be a little bit nervous.
Sure.
But I just feel so at ease with you, and to me, I'm all about that gut instinct.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I'm an Aquarius, and we're kind of truthful to a fault, which is why we get in trouble. We're the rebel of the zodiac. Which is why I like Sagittarius, because I called him the bartender party planner of the zodiac.
I was about to say, so we just probably get in trouble together.
That's a given, and Justin would have to show up with the bail. I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Oh no, Justin's like the very logical one. He's always like, you can't say that on the podcast. It's illegal. You can't do this. You can't. I'm like, it's fine.
See, on our podcast, we could say whatever we want. You can't say whatever you want.
Oh no, I say whatever I want. He's always just like,
You're like, Justin, clean it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for being on. I'll make sure that we give you our contact information so that we can stay in touch with you.
Yeah,
and
of course. I hope the border's open and you can come over soon.
I'm hoping so too. What, Joe? No, I'm not. See how he just totally messed me up? You totally messed me up. Okay, now I've got to edit the audio, and before it was a clean sweep, but that's on you.
Thanks,
all
Joe.
Right. Yeah, she said, thanks, Joe. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. And anytime you want to come on or you need somebody, just let me know.
Yeah.
So I'm Allison. You're so welcome, and give your family my best. And I'm Allison Dubois. Thank you for hanging out with me this week on The Dead Life. You can find me on Instagram at Medium Allison on Facebook, and more information on me at AllisonDubois.com. To all of my believers out there, don't stop believing. Yay, now we're off.
Bloody Joe.